Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. Coming up on today's show, when it comes to the D, the Falcons are looking for experience.
And give me double Trey over logo Trey any day. And if you let him DJ, he's going to DJ.
And last but not least, and for the culture, what would you do if McDonald's was passing out blessings? That's all next right here on ATL Day Ones. Let's go.
This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
I want to start off by saying thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. And remember, we're free and available wherever you download your podcast and wherever you download your podcast. Make sure you leave us a 5-star review. Really appreciate that from you in advance. Today's episode of ATL Day Ones is brought to you by Bet Online. You know that's where the game starts. T, if the folks want to find us on the big screen, how about this? Here's what you do. Go to Amazon or Roku. Drop in that search box, Locked On Sports Atlanta, and we're going to pop right up. And you can doggone subscribe to us right there and get all this goodness on your big screen TV. I know you got a big screen TV. It's 2023. What are you doing if you don't have one? All right. But T, today is very interesting, right? Because just found out about the Atlanta Falcons are set to interview Vic Fangio, former head coach of the Denver Broncos. We know the Denver Broncos have been an excellent defensive football team, and that's probably the only good thing you can say about that. The guys in orange and blue. So, T, when I think about them interviewing Vic Fangio, Brian Flores, it seems like the Falcons are skewing towards guys who've been in the game, who got some salt in the game, who've proven themselves as defensive coordinators in this league. And to be honest with you, I have no problem with that.
I really like that because that's a formula that is working for Arthur Smith. When he brought in Dean Pease, yes, Dean was always a defensive coordinator, but when you've been a DC for that long, you might as well call yourself a de facto head coach in my book. Right. So I still feel like he's had that type of individual around him and it worked. And I also believe that if you want to attract more veterans, like say a Rashaan Evans, right, or even a Lorenzo Carter, he started to kind of pick it up at the end of the season. I believe that one of the selling points can be, hey, this is Vic Fangio or this is Brian Flores. We know what their resume looks like as it relates to getting defensive players to play at a high level. So, yeah, I really like that move. I really hope everything works out, whether they go with Vic or whether they go with Brian. I feel like they can't lose, and I'm just hopeful that one of those works out for the Falcons. But I believe so, Jarvis, because I believe with Dean Pease putting things into place like he has, it also makes everyone else aware that, hey, this is a really great destination for you as a coach, and you can get what it is that you need to potentially put you back in the position to become a head coach.
Yeah, and because that's what it's all about, right? And I think that when you think about and in response to what you were saying, as far as putting yourself in position to become a head coach, how about this? Charles London is going to be down at the Senior Bowl, and he's going to be the offensive coordinator. Really cool thing that the Senior Bowl is doing this year. They're picking individual coaches to come down to there and be on staff and get that experience and calling plays and everything like that, because London has already interviewed for the Tennessee Titans OC gig and the Washington Commanders gig. So it looks like London may be working himself into a job right there. So it's going to be cool. It's cool to see, these assistants be able to get these opportunities, specifically the diverse ones, the minority ones, and get those. They're getting a lot of experience going down into the Senior Bowl and be able to work with these incoming seniors, guys who are going to be looking and playing for jobs.
Yes. So you literally are looking at someone that the league is starting to scout. You know what, Falcons fans? That's a positive thing. If the league is scouting one of your coaches that's on Arthur Smith's staff, that tells you that this staff is going in the right direction. This staff did something right the last 2 seasons. So not only is that good for Charles London, but I also believe that's another recruiting tool for Arthur Smith to say, hey, my guys are quality. Here's what happens when you come and join us. This is what it could be as a learning opportunity for you, a training ground, if you will, for you
Mm-hmm.
to move on to something else. So congratulations to Charles London for getting that nod to be the coach. And like you said, to be able to see some of that talent, maybe get a little sneak peek at it for Terry Fontenot's team. And also for having the opportunity to interview. I mean, would you hate to lose him? Absolutely. But would you be excited for him to move on to that next level? Absolutely.
Yeah, you don't want to put yourself in a situation where nobody wants your coaches
Yeah.
because you know what I'm saying. Because as much as Bill Belichick's or his part of his tree, his coaching tree has
Mhm.
failed once they
Right.
left the building, and people still like to tap into that thing for some
Yes.
strange or odd reason, and it's a reason why, because you gotta feel like when you are a successful team and
Mhm.
you are doing good things, people are going to notice and people are going to try to say, hey, maybe we can get some of that good juju over here as well. So, shout out to Charles London for getting that opportunity.
Yes.
And if he does get those jobs and they haven't been filled quite yet, so he's still in the running.
Mhm.
So hopefully we'll know soon as to whether or not he's going to continue on with the Falcons coaching staff, and more than likely, and it looks like he will if he don't get these jobs. So either way, it's a win-win for both
Yes.
parties involved. Now, T, speaking of both parties being involved, so the NIL is kind of even things out from a player standpoint, right? Because we
Mhm.
already know, me being a former scholarship athlete, I understand the whole coaching have all the juice and all the power. So when all this NIL stuff came about, I was like, yes, let's do it. Give him the
Yeah.
juice. Give him that. Give him the negotiating power to be able to say, hey, you need to doggone treat me right
Yes.
if I'm gonna stick around, or sometimes it may turn into a little butt kissing, but that's a whole nother conversation. But I think this story may have kind of crossed the line a little bit, T, because when you think about Jaden Rashada, who's
Mhm.
a four-star quarterback recruit who was signed for an NIL deal with
Mhm.
a collective, and then end up signing with the University of Florida. He
Mhm.
has now decommitted. He decommitted because apparently the NIL deal, which was not to exceed $13 million. That's how
Right.
it's worded, which is weird.
Mhm.
Not to exceed $13 million. Apparently that deal fell through, and now he's asking for permission to be released from his scholarship from the University of Florida.
Right.
I understand NIL deals, and like you
Mhm.
said, like, I'm a former college athlete, so I get it. I understand, man. Get that money. But man, you gotta have some type of standards, T. I
Yes.
feel.
Yeah, and that's where you go into the space of, you and I are on the same page that we want these athletes to benefit off of their name, image, and likeness, because schools, coaches, everybody else has benefited billions of dollars. However, there has to be some type of regulation across the board because, and Lord knows I'm nobody's Florida fan, but
At all.
For that to be like kind of contingent on something, and it's kind of like pie in the sky, right? Because
Right.
Florida knows that Rashada's attendance and participation on their team, playing for their school, is really contingent on that NIL more so than anything else.
Indeed.
However, there is nothing that shows that, hey, you can't make him do anything. Like, he can decommit
Mhm.
until he signs some paperwork. He can decommit. So
Right.
players could potentially, Jarvis, they could go back and forth all year until they sign on. Like, you know how sometimes you hear 10th graders, 11th graders who commit early, and you're thinking that they're good to go, and there's some pie in the sky, and all of a sudden it's yanked, and they're like, oh, you want to yank it? Well, I'm going to go to that second school that I was going to choose because their NIL deal seems like it's a bit firmer. That's
Right.
when you start getting into a problem, just like the transfer portal is going to need to have some more guidelines, because I just feel like I want these kids to get paid. They deserve to get paid. But honestly, there has to be some regulation.
I mean, the NCAA brought this on themselves. Like, this is all
Mhm.
y'all fault. That's why I say
Yep.
let it run wild until
And it
you
will.
all put some doggone investment into employees to monitor all this stuff, or change, or get some type of more of a regulation on this bad boy, because this is the thing that this is where we are. Like, this isn't going anywhere. The NIL deals aren't going anywhere. These collectives aren't going anywhere, because guess
Right.
what? Boosters like to be able to throw around money to have power, to be able to
Yes,
make
they do.
decisions, right?
Yes, they
So
do.
that's not changing anytime soon. So hey,
Nope.
the coaches better get with it. NCAA, it is you are obligated to fix this situation or at least make it feasible because like I said, the
Mhm.
coaches are suffering, and then at the end of the day, players are suffering.
They are.
I was literally reading this earlier this morning, T, of a
Mhm.
young brother who was a 4-star recruit, went to Florida,
Mhm.
got into some legal situation, got kicked out, left that school, left Florida, went to a
Mhm.
JUCO,
Yep.
left the JUCO, went to Jackson State, left Jackson State, went to Bethune-Cookman, left Bethune-Cookman. Now he at Charlotte
Exactly.
right now. So I'm just
Yes.
like, that's
Yes.
too much. That's too much going
It's
on. Like, cause
yeah.
I knew for me, I know that I thought about transferring when I was at Albany State
Yep. I remember
University.
us talking about that.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But here's the thing. I never wanted to be now my mom was basically made the decision say you ain't going nowhere. Man. But in the back of my mind, I did not want to be that guy bouncing around from school to school. Cause
Yeah.
at the end of the day, I don't care
Yeah.
what star you recruit you are. If you bounce it around from school to school, it's something going on with you. I'm sorry. Like you can say whatever you want. All your situations may be able to tell your story to be your favorite, but it's something going on. Like, and I never wanted to be that guy. So that's kind of where I am with it. And I
Mhm.
think, one of the things that, the NCAA is going to have to do, they have to make sure that they keep an eye on this stuff and do something about it and not just sit
Mhm.
there and let it linger like they did when they was getting all this good free labor. Now,
Right.
we don't want you to do anything for free. And we want you to get some money. So, you can pay for some things and not have to work for
Nope.
free. We want you winning some
Yeah.
money. Guess what? Here's what I want you to do. I want you to go to betonline.net because it is the fastest and easiest way to get in on all your betting needs. Find all the wager information, odds, lines for all the games, for all the leagues. They got you covered. Now, NFL playoffs is going down this weekend. So what you gonna do? Who are you gonna bet on? Are the Chiefs gonna get upset by the Jaguars? That may sound crazy, but guess what? Bet Online may have exactly what you need. They got all the information right there waiting just for you. They even
Yes.
have podcasts. You guys come to us each and every day for all your ATL sports needs. Go to Bet Online for all your sports wagering information. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to pick up that mobile device and go to
Yes.
Bet Online because it is the fastest and easiest way to get in, and it is where the game starts.
Jarvis, 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 Jarvis. I had to say your name 4 times because we got 4 dubs in a row. The Hawks
Yes.
are finally rolling for the first time this season. 4 straight wins. Of course, that was a 130-122 win in Dallas over the Mavericks. Another red hot team that also was bringing players back off their injury list in the likes of Dorian Finney-Smith. So you're thinking, hey, they're loaded. They've had a virtually clean injury report just like the Hawks. And the reason I say that, Jarvis, is because when you start getting these kinds of wins and you have teams that are at full strength and you're at full strength, give credit where credit is due. But speaking of giving credit where credit is due, we said it in the beginning of the show and we're going to say it again. But I will not sing it because I am not gifted in that area. But go, DJ. That's my TJ. Hey. So it is Dejounte
Yes,
Murray,
yes,
the guy
yes,
who
yes.
had 30 points and 7 rebounds and 4 assists and 3 steals in the game and put a straight clamp and locked down Luka Doncic. Do we think the secret sauce, we've kind of found it?
Yes, and I think it doesn't necessarily. And at the beginning of when the Hawks were really struggling, I was saying like, hey, look, Trey has to hit his shots. He has to hit his shots more. And we know that Trey was taking a lot of shots and everything like that. But I think I like this a little bit better. I
Yeah.
like this
Oh,
this
I
mode.
love this.
Yeah. Let me change that. I'm sorry. Let me stop being
Yeah.
being shy. I love this
Yep.
sauce. I love this sauce. This is Chick-fil-A sauce right now. Like
Polynesian. Polynesian. That's his
yeah,
favorite.
yeah, the Polynesian. You know what I'm saying? I got to get my Chick-fil-A sauce in there. This is a Polynesian Chick-fil-A sauce type thing going on. And here's what that entails for those of you who don't know or who didn't watch the game last night. It involves setting the tone on defense.
Yes.
How about that? To start the game off. The DJ up here talking about, yeah, let me get those cookies, and I'm about to drop this layup in on y'all.
Yes.
And then, yeah, Luka went off for 19 in the first quarter, but how about the second quarter? 0. How about that? And when you just think about the defensive game plan too, even Nate McMillan's son was out here dropping a little couple of Jews here coming back from halftime, talking about, hey, throwing different waves at Luka Doncic and making sure they're hitting that weak side corner three because it was open all night. And then John Collins out here hitting that corner three because they knew, coach knew, Nate McMillan knew, the assistants knew, everybody knew that weak side three was going to be there, and you saw them take advantage of that. So I love the facilitating Trey, picking and choosing his spots when he knows he needs to go ahead and close out the game, which he did last night. With hitting those free throws and saying, hey, give me the rock. I'm about to make all these free throws, and we about to get out here and get this dub. So I absolutely love this. They need to keep the Chick-fil-A and the Polynesian, T. They need to keep the Chick-fil-A and the Polynesian. Please.
Exactly. And I couldn't agree with you more. And I've said this from day one. I've never been a fan of the 30-plus point Trey because I always believe if Trey has 35 to 40 points, I'm looking at everybody else's stat line and it's not going to look good.
What you doing?
But when I see 11 dimes, that makes me happy. And when I see 8 free throws, not just 8 for 8, but the fact that you got to the line several times, because the Hawks really did not get a lot of calls last night, right? But for him to get called, for him to make those, you could argue the case, Jarvis, that his 8 free throws were the difference in the game score-wise. 130 to 122. So I love to see that he was being aggressive in getting to the rack. I like to see that he was capitalizing on it. And I like to see that Nate McMillan actually took the opportunity to say, wait a minute, DeAndre Hunter is struggling. DeAndre's in foul trouble. He can't get his rhythm on offense. Let me put DJ on Luka Doncic and let's see if that makes a difference. It does. Because yes, Dre and Luka, that's big on big, but Luka didn't know what to do with that speed of Dejounte Murray, that athleticism of Dejounte Murray. That's how he's able
wingspan, 6'5". That's crazy.
There you go. He did not know what to do with that. And so that's the kind of thing. Let's shout out, like you said, Nate McMillan and his entire coaching staff for seeing little gaps where they could take advantage of it and then using it, even inserting AJ Griffin into the lineup at crucial times and being able to, for him to be able to shoot threes. I mean, I do wish I could see Jalen Johnson just a little bit more, but we'll have that conversation tomorrow as we preview Hawks Knicks. But ultimately speaking, I think that our question is, have the Hawks figured it out? Overall, I would say they're figuring. Because this is, like I said, only the second time maybe this entire season that we've seen a clean injury report. So back to back at that. So if we can take a clean injury report, assuming, Trey came back into the game after he kind of rolled that ankle. So assuming he's good to go for Friday, assuming that Clint Capella can still go and maybe they'll give him a few more minutes. He was 23 last night, I think it was, Jarvis.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll give him a few more minutes. Yeah, if we can get a clean injury report like that, that's step one. That's step one. And then if everybody can continue to play their part, play your position, then I think we're close to them figuring it out.
Speaking of position, T, let me bounce this off for you. Let me see what you think about this. Because, last night I was sitting on my couch and sitting there watching the game. And I was looking at something, like, because, a lot of times when you have a guy, that's coming towards the end of his career and, he can be injury prone a little bit. And, I was like, Yeka Okongwu has started these last few games. You know what I'm saying? Clint Capella coming off the bench. I like Clint coming off the bench. He's paired up with, Trey, you know what I'm saying? When DJ is out the game and that pick and roll look real nice with Mr. Capella coming off the pine. So I say all that to say, what do you think about Clint coming off the bench going forward for the rest of the season, or at least for the time being?
Yeah. I would say for at least another week, I could certainly see that because I do think that they want to be very, very careful to have CC available down the stretch. But I think ultimately Onyeka still has a lot of growing to do in terms of knowing how to defend without necessarily fouling. That's the one area where maybe we can get, because he's developing that jumper. That's a good thing, right? He is getting back to his old self, whom we used to see, who could take on any big and really give them fits We're starting to see that again. The one area where he's got to grow is learning how to either one of two things. Well, really both, Jarvis. Fouling at the right time and fouling the right way.
Good Lord.
Yeah, once he figures that out, he's going to be a beast. But I do think Clint Capella, just overall, his skill set is probably still that of a starter. And I think Onyeka Okongwu's skill set is getting there to be able to be a starter. But it's a very intriguing and compelling thing. And I wouldn't mind if Nate McMillan tried to play around with that, because we know that he's been trying to work some rosters for a while now to see exactly what's going to work.
Yeah, I think that'll be something that to keep an eye on, because I really feel like Clint Capella against the second team, anybody's second team big, I'll take that matchup pretty much any day and all day. So especially when teams don't really put too much value in those guys like that anymore anyway. And just from a rebounding standpoint, man, that'll be very interesting to see. But I think. But go ahead.
You go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say that's one of the things that I feel like that can be to the Hawks' advantage as he's coming off of this injury, as he's still playing limited minutes for the time being. So that'd be something kind of take a good look at, I believe, for Nate McMillan that can use it as an advantage.
Yeah, no doubt about it. That is an excellent point, because bringing a player back too soon, we've seen how that can be. There can be consequences to that, right?
Yeah.
And as much as I hate to say it, you got to give credit where credit is due. And I'll just wrap up saying this. John Collins was 3 of 5 from the perimeter, and he's actually taking quality shots and not just quantity shots. Got to give him credit, because his 3 threes came at some really crucial moments in that game. And yet he didn't fall off with everything else that he was responsible for at the other end of the court, right? He was that close to a double-double. And so I really appreciate him focusing on improving that part of his game, but not to the detriment of the rest of his game. So, it's interesting to see, because boy, the Hawks, they're heating up at the right time. They are heating up at the right time. And speaking of heating up, the coaching carousel in the NFL is heating up. If you want to know more about that, you know where you should go, right? After you check us out, because we're going to give you information on what's happening with the coaching pseudo carousel with the Falcons, but the real coaching carousel with the NFL, that's Locked On Sports Today. They give you all of the reaction to any and everything that's happening. Even, a few shakeups right here in the NFC South, for example. Of course, Byron Leftwich is gone from Tampa. And so I'm sure they're going to give reactions to that, along with several other staff members on Todd Bowles' crew. And so you want to know about it? You know where to go. Check out the Odyssey app. Wherever you download your podcast, go there too. And of course, they are on YouTube. So always stop here for the best and the latest news from the ATL sports scene. But you know what's next up. Locked On Sports Today. Because if you want their version of For the Culture, which is Take of the Day, well, you probably got to check them out today.
Locked On Sports Atlanta family, listen up. You guys have been rocking with us for a long time now. We are over 5,000 subscribers, 5,300 to be exact, but who's counting? Here's what we need you to do. If you have not liked or subscribed to our YouTube channel, we need you to go to YouTube right now. I mean, literally right now, and go subscribe to the channel. What have you been waiting on? I look at the numbers. I see y'all been coming here and checking us out and ain't subscribed. Yeah, I'm calling you out. You, that person. So make sure you go and do that so we can get to 6,000, because that's exactly what we're trying to do. I'll be intentional about this thing. I'm being intentional in 2023. So I appreciate y'all in advance. How about this? If you want to get in contact with the show, atlday1s@gmail.com. Got some real big coming up. So make sure you stay tuned. But T, this is For the Culture. It is the intersection between sports, entertainment, the culture, and sometimes whatever we want to talk about, because that's just how we get down on the show. Today is no different. How about this, T? When you think about, what's going on in this world today, with the recession and everything, like people out here really hurt. People really needing some a good blessing out there. And I tend to look at these type of situations that happened with this young man, by the name of Josiah. He was at McDonald's and he ordered a sausage McMuffin. And T, when he went through the drive-thru, he got the bag, but he also got the bag. And the bag not only had a sausage McMuffin in there, which is really good, by the way.
You like them? Okay, that's a sidebar, but go ahead.
Sidebar conversation. Yeah, but had a sausage McMuffin up in the thing, but he also found about $5,000 in plastic bags in the bag. So my question to you, T, I mean, probably know the answer, but like 5 bands, and they probably wouldn't have known who they gave it to or how I got up out the building. Josiah took it back.
I know. Sadly, my mind went to bands will make her dance, so I don't think that's the answer, but that's where my mind went, just so you all know. Okay, back to reality. I'm sorry, people. He said whatever the heck we want to talk about, so that's
what we do. Like, that's what we do on this show. Sorry.
You all know we go.
At least I'm up around
straight
the
down
right?
the rabbit hole for round 3 of this bad boy. But no, Jarvis, you and I are upstanding, good Christian folks, so we would take the money back. But let me tell you, there will be some tears flowing on my way to the APD, on my way to the 4th precinct.
I do need a down payment on the Raptor, Lord.
I know, right? I'm like, what about my 4Runner? What about my townhome with the detached walls?
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I got an old school I need to refurbish. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Like, you know how you like sit in the garage sometimes and try to, gather yourself before you go in your home? I think I would leave the house and just kind of sit in my garage for a minute with my bags and just be like, oh, it's real.
And look, it was all in a nice little Glad Lot bags, you know what I'm saying? Little Ziploc bags, all neat and all together. Had 20s right there, and the ones were right there. And I'm just like, I hate, you know what I'm saying? Forgive me for this. But like, I literally, the first thing came to my mind was like how are they going to know who had it?
True.
They had no idea.
Except the cameras maybe could have.
I mean, but they still don't like.
But
I mean, I guess
don't really know because it was
probably
like it was in a bag.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But they placed it in the bag, so probably would have been able to figure it out. Maybe potentially. The one employee going to admit that they put a bag full of money in that doggone McDonald's bag. Like, I don't know who did it. You'd have to take that L. But I mean, I think it's. But yeah, but shout out to Josiah for doing the right thing, though.
Yes.
Like, I think we said a lot to say. Yeah, man. Like, hopefully Josiah got some good things coming his way because Lord knows I would have thought long and hard about that one to you.
Yeah. You'll get your blessings, Josiah. Yeah.
Yes.
You'll get your blessings. We do believe that for you.
Yes, we do. We do believe that. And we thank you for making us your first listen today. Make sure you go ahead and check out Locked On Sports today. They might not have this goodness like we have as far as this ATL stuff, but they got all the national news that they're going to get down for you with the take of the day. They got all that stuff. And you can find it wherever you find us, right here. Wherever you download your podcast, you can get it.